Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics. I'm Taylor Phillips, and welcome to Taylor's Detroit Sports Show on Blog Talk Radio, March 1st, 2015. Full plate here tonight. Red Wings, Pistons, college basketball, a little bit of Lions news, and the Tigers starting their preseason. I want to get to the Wings first. They finished their 6-game road trip at 4-1-1. They beat They beat Chicago in a shootout 3-2. They beat Dallas in overtime 7-6. They lost to the Ducks 4-3 in a shootout after coughing up a 2-0 lead through 2 periods. They get shut out by the Los Angeles Kings 1-0, and then they come back to beat the Sharks 3-2 on a beautiful backhand wrister by Luke Glendening, and Jimmy Howard rebounded it nicely as well, only allowing 2 goals after allowing 9 goals in 2 games in the Anaheim and Los Angeles losses. And then they wrap up their road trip in Nashville with a 4-3 win over the Predators after coughing up a 2-0 lead. They come back with goals from Alexei Marchenko, the first of his NHL career, and then the game winner by Tomas Tatar. Their next game is at home on Wednesday at 8 on NBC's Wednesday Night Rivalry against the New York Rangers, who acquired Keith Yandle in a trade from the Coyotes, while the Red Wings acquired left winger Eric Cole from the Dallas Stars in a multiplayer trade for 2 prospects. They also acquired a 3rd-round draft pick. They gave up a 2nd-round draft pick plus a couple Matthias Backlund and Matthias what's that other guy's name here? Matthias Janmark. I'm not fully satisfied with the Eric Cole trade, but he does bring more offense to the roster. What the Red Wings really do need is a defenseman, a better defenseman. They also should waive Brendan Smith. He has committed way too many penalty minutes. He has served way too many minutes in the penalty box, and that it's really hurting his team, whether they kill penalties off or not. Brendan Smith is a disease, and he's still not learning to play the right way. Jonathan Ericsson has actually improved. He knows how to play the right way. He's almost a veteran, for goodness sakes. He's 30 years old. He's under a 6-year, $26 million contract. Sure, he screwed up badly a few times and whatnot, but lately he has played better defense, especially in the 6-game road trip at its entirety. The Red Wings are actually fine with Eriksson. Although he hasn't produced much offense this season. The Rangers have been struggling as of late. That's why they picked up Keith Yandle. Waiting for the Red Wings schedule here. There we go. Brendan Smith almost got injured while he was slew-footed by San Jose Sharks Logan Couture and Nashville Predators James Neal, former Dallas Star. Also up next for the Red Wings, they face off against the Calgary Flames at 7:30 on Fox Sports Detroit Plus. Then on Sunday, they head to Boston at 12:30 and play the Bruins on NBC, on your local NBC television affiliate. My thoughts on who the Red Wings should really trade for are still Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He still provides a lot of offense. Keith Yandle's now out. The Red Wings should also pursue Jack Johnson from the Columbus Blue Jackets and Jan Hejda from the Colorado Avalanche. He's got a lot of experience. Jack Johnson knows how to play the right way. The Red Wings right now in the standings are in third place in the Atlantic Division with 81 points, one behind the second place Tampa Bay Lightning and 6 behind the Montreal Canadiens. The New York Islanders lead the Metropolitan Division with 84 points. The Rangers are right behind them, 2 points back with 82. The Pittsburgh Penguins with 81. Washington Capitals possess the first wild card spot in the East with 78. The Bruins with 71. The Bruins with 71, possessing the second and final eight spot in the East. The Panthers, who acquired Jaromir Jagr, who scored his who scored a goal to tie Phil Esposito's record. in career goals. Yager just might pass Phil Esposito, by the way. The Panthers, by the way, are at 69 points, 2 behind the Bruins for that final wild card spot. They're in 9th place right now. Other stuff to get to on this show. You can call in at 646-478-4837. You can text message live 231-429-3668. Please provide your name, city, and state if you text message live. Once again, the call-in live number is 646-478-4837. Text message live number 231-429-3668. Now let's go to the Pistons. They are now 2-3 after the Reggie Jackson and Tayshaun Prince trades. They have lost 3 straight since Tayshaun Prince played his first game back with the Pistons. They are 1-3 with Reggie Jackson on the court. But does that mean that Reggie Jackson and Tayshaun Prince are a disaster to this team? Tayshaun Prince has a bad attitude. Reggie Jackson still can't. Tayshaun doesn't belong here. Reggie Jackson sucks.
What's your problem there, pal? Can't a guy get a bit of sleep? Don't fuck me.
Still can't get enough of that sound effect. Dirk Deering and Hootie from G-Force, Guardians of Space. I think Reggie Jackson and Tayshaun Prince are fine. Tayshaun Prince does belong here in Detroit. Reggie Jackson also, Tayshaun Prince has won the NBA title with the Pistons in 2004. That's the only title Prince has won in his career. He belongs with the Pistons, and he still has it in him. Reggie Jackson is a really good jumper shooter. He can take it to the rack. He's kind of so-so from three-point range. He can be really good too. But he brings a lot of chemistry, just like Torrey Hunter brought the chemistry to the Tigers in 2013. They lost to the Cavaliers 102-93. They were upset by a different New York Knicks roster, 121-115 in double overtime. And then they lost again in D.C. against the Washington Wizards, 99-95. Their first quarter was terrible. The last two home games, their second half performances were flat out awful. They blew those games by having those pathetic second half performances. The Pistons made a comeback in the second, had a much better second half, but that's because they had to come back from down 60-44 against the Washington Wizards. Stan Van Gundy, after the Washington game, said that when we're ahead, we let up, and when we're behind, we play better, and that all needs to change. I have to agree with Stan Van Gundy. SVG has got to find a way to change that. Whether they're ahead or behind, they have to play very well with urgency. They have to put games away when they're ahead at home. They have to complete comebacks and put games away when they're behind. They're going to fall behind at times. They're going to keep falling behind at times like every other team does. Pistons also play Wednesday at 8, but in New Orleans, continuing against the Pelicans, continuing their 3-game road trip on FSD and Detroit Sports 105.1. Then on Friday, March 6th, they're in Houston against the 40-18 Houston Rockets at 8 on FSD and 105.1 to take on Josh Smith's new team in his new place. Then on Sunday at 6, they return home and take on the Charlotte Hornets, who are 23-33 on FSD and 105.1. A single home game before they go back on the road for 4 games in the West Coast, out west. There's also been talks about Greg Monroe being a free agent. The Knicks were interested in Monroe, and Reggie Jackson, according to DetroitBadBoys.com, David Mayo followed up on it, writing an article saying Greg Monroe's agent David Falk, titled "Greg Monroe's agent David Falk says Detroit Pistons big man won't rule out re-signing." That's Greg Monroe. Greg Monroe's agent said that Saturday the player would consider re-signing with the Detroit Pistons this summer, despite taking uncommon measures last year to avoid doing just that and potentially speed his extrication from the team. That's what David Falk, the legendary rainmaker who served as Michael Jordan's agent and reshaped the art of shoe contracts, said. Falk also acknowledged that when Monroe pursues offers as an unrestricted free agent, it'll be the first time. While Falk did chase sign and trade opportunities in 2014, he said Monroe chose not to go through the process when it came to signing an offer sheet with another team as a restricted free agent, which the Pistons could have matched. Falk said, quote, "He didn't go through the process. You guys are the guys who speculate. I don't think he went through the process last year," unquote. Monroe instead signed a $5.479 million qualifying offer, turning down 4 years at about $14 million annually from Detroit. Falk said, quote, "Most players would have taken the money in exchange for the privilege of becoming an unrestricted free agent this summer. Greg is one of the brightest clients I've ever represented. He's very mature, he's very intelligent, he's very thoughtful, he's very analytical. I laid out all the options, and he decided that he wanted to have options," unquote. Against that backdrop, the Pistons will make another run at Monroe this year, and they have 5 years and more money than any other team can pay him to offer. If they choose to do so, they might be back in the Monroe business. Business next year, Falk said. He said, quote, "Only the media discuss this kind of stuff during the season. I don't ever sit down game to game and take his temperature. It's like the playoffs. The only thing that matters is where his head is at on July 1st. We got a long ways to go before we get there. It's all speculation, and he can change his mind 20 times between now and then. So I leave him alone. There'll be time for discussion, and that time is not now," unquote. Money will be an important part of the equation, but not the only one. Falk said he told Monroe 2 years ago he would get the same money in free agency regardless where he goes, assuming the agent can find a maximum contract. Falk is a historic power hitter in that pursuit. How far am I? Quote unquote, I've done this once or twice in my career. It only takes one of 30 teams to extend the offer, unquote. Certainly lesser players than the Pistons center forward have earned maximum deals, so in that respect, money isn't the most important consideration unless it comes from Detroit, perhaps which can give Monroe bigger annual raises in free agency than other teams, 7.5% compared to 4.5%. Looking for the right fit is the biggest consideration, Falk said. He was asked if he believes Pistons president of basketball operations and head coach Stan Van Gundy respects Monroe's production. Falk replied, quote, I think Stan has said some very positive things about Greg publicly. I think Greg has said some very positive things about Stan publicly, and Stan's a great coach, unquote. One balancing act Monroe might have to consider is whether he wants to sign a long-term contract this summer and potentially cost himself some front-end money next year. The NBA is about to undergo a dramatic escalation of the salary cap, which will increase by about 50% between 2013 and 2014 season, when it was $58.6 million, and 2016-17 season, when it could reach $90 million because of revenue increases, primarily via a new television contract. Interesting. How to jockey these figures to your advantage while you're the payee and looking for the biggest cut possible after the cap explodes is a key consideration that can lead some players to pursue short-term deals. Falk said, quote, if the cap is at $68 million this year, in the next year, 2015-2016 season, this year's 2014-2015. But anyway, and the following year it goes to $90 million, you're going to have to decide how to plan for it. You have to determine how you want to plan your career management based on where the cap is, and we're going to do that, unquote. So, all in all, this article is saying that the Pistons have the greatest possibility of keeping Greg Monroe on their roster. That's good news. They need him. 646-478-4837 is the number to call. 231-429-3668 is the number to text message. Name, city, and state, please and thank you. The Michigan Wolverines continue to struggle after upsetting the Buckeyes. They get squashed by the Maryland Terrapins, 66-56. Terrapins are ranked number 11. The Wolverines still might make it to the NIT, but not the NCAA tournament. The Spartans might, though. They've lost 2 straight, though. They got upset by the Minnesota Golden Gophers 96-90 in overtime on Thursday night. Then they generally got smashed by the 5th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers. 68-61 was the final. A bit closer than I expected. Spartans will have to pick it up if they want to finish strong. If they want to perform better in the NCAA tournament, make a good run in the NCAA tournament. The Central Michigan Chippewas, speaking of which, continue rolling, although they lost badly to Northern Illinois on the road, 73-55. Continued their dominance in the MAC. I mean, Northern Illinois is a tougher team, though, but looking at CMUChippewas.com, the schedule here, they're home against Toledo with 2 games left in the regular season, and then that's Tuesday. Then on Friday, they're at Western Michigan at 7. Both games are at 7. They are 1, 2, 9, 10. Chippewas have 21 wins. Wow. I think they might have already earned an NCAA tournament bid, playoff berth. With 21 wins, in my view, they've only lost 6 games overall. Just amazing. 4 of those losses in the MAC, but they've had a good MAC season, I tell you. Won about like 13 or 14. They are 11-5 in the conference, 21-6 overall, 15-1 at home, 6-5 away. That's quite amazing. The Lions cut running back Reggie Bush to save $1.7 million in cap space, and thus make more possibility to re-sign and put a franchise tag on defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh. Should they also try to keep wide receiver Calvin Johnson? I think they should. The only way to keep Suh and Johnson is to re-sign Suh and sign Johnson to a short 1-year, $1 million contract and talk about extensions later on with Megatron. The Tigers start their 2015 spring training preseason tomorrow at Joker Marchant Stadium in Lakeland, Florida, at home against the Florida Southern Mocs. Alex Avila will get some work in at first base. Jose Iglesias was running fine. Those are the couple updates on Twitter that I have received. That's going to do it for Taylor's Detroit Sports Show on Blog Talk Radio for March 1st, 2015. Hope you enjoyed the show. Leave comments for my archived episodes. As always, give them a listen. Thanks for downloading and listening. I'll be back Sunday 11 here on Blog Talk Radio. Also, follow me on Spreaker by downloading the Spreaker mobile app and go to Spreaker.com. TTFN, ta-ta for now.